Hello, I'm taking on a challenge to beat every playable Nintendo published game. Welcome to the next episode. The next game is Game & Watch Greenhouse. Game & Watch Greenhouse was the fourth game released in the Game & Watch multi-screen series. In this one, you play as Stanley. Who is Stanley, you might ask? Well, his only other major appearance is in Donkey Kong 3, so he's already a pretty obscure Nintendo character. I wouldn't be surprised if most of you had no idea who he was, let alone knew his first appearance was actually in a Game & Watch game. Interestingly, the manual only calls him the Fumigator, so you might think this isn't even Stanley at first glance. However, the printed ads for the games directly refer to him as Stanley the Bugman. In Smash Bros., Game & Watch's Jab and Rapid Jab see him turning into Stanley and spraying the opponent with bug spray. Unfortunately, I forgot a reference to Smash Bros. In my summary on Game & Watch Donkey Kong Jr., so I'll go ahead and just talk about it now. Game & Watch's down air has Mr. Game & Watch descending with the key that was used to rescue Donkey Kong. Humorously, this move is even titled Donkey Kong Jr. In this game, Stanley is tasked with defending a greenhouse from various pests. On the top screen, you must defend the flowers from caterpillars, and on the bottom screen, you are defending the flowers against spiders. To do this, the D-pad returns to help you navigate back and forth across both screens. Pressing the spray button will cause Stanley to spray the bug spray at the bugs. There are more caterpillars that spawn on the top screen, but they are pretty easy to take out. All you have to do is line yourself up with them horizontally on the top screen and press the spray button to take them out. The spiders on the bottom screen behave a little differently. You only need to stand in the corner when firing against them, but they only get knocked back a bit with each spray. They must be pushed to the edge of the screen to be completely removed. You still get points for pushing them back though, so sometimes it's worth it to only push it back a little bit instead of removing it entirely if your attention is quickly needed elsewhere. I feel like with this many bugs, you should probably figure out what the root of the problem is, as I don't think endlessly running around the greenhouse spraying every bug you see is sustainable. Also, I doubt this much bug spray is good for the plants in here either. By the time you've finished a run, you've sprayed so much bug spray that it's probably even too toxic for humans to breathe in there. Anyway, this one is all about moving quickly and properly reacting to whichever threat is the most urgent. There's so many bugs that you're pretty much always on the move, which I personally enjoyed since it is constantly keeping me interested and on my toes. They've really stepped up the complexity with these games lately, thanks to having multiple screens and a more powerful CPU. As is the case with all the latest Game & Watch games, my goal was to reach 300 points and see the lives refresh. As we'll soon see though, I crushed this goal this time around. On my first run in Game Mode A, I got to 300 points without losing a single life. Because of this, I entered double score mode. Unlike in Game & Watch Mickey and Donald though, I finally managed to keep double score mode around for quite a bit longer this time around. I made it all the way to 700 points before finally losing a life and leaving double score mode. I lost a life due to the fact that I let the caterpillars alone for too long, and there ended up being more than I was able to manage. This was already my new highest score I'd ever achieved in a Game & Watch game, but I was so close to 1000, I wanted to see if I could make it to the max score. 200 points later, and I made it to 900 with 2 lives still remaining. Come on, Swoopsy Bob, you can do this. This last stretch of 100 started to get really tough. They just threw so many bugs at you at once. I was getting close, but unfortunately, I lost my second to last life at 989 points. Come on, only 11 left. I was almost there when... I lost my last life. Did I make it to 1000? I wasn't even sure at first, but if you look at my score carefully, you'll notice that my score looped back to 0 just before I lost the life. 999 is the max score you can achieve in this game, and once you get to 1000, it just loops back to 0. I had made it right at the last second. Next up was Game Mode B. Once again, I'm not too sure what was different here. They probably just sent more bugs at you this time around. I didn't do quite as good as Game Mode A, but I once again got to double points mode, and even managed to get to 899 points before losing my last life. With that, my goals had been met and Game & Watch Greenhouse was complete. On to the review. Once again, the multi-screen series has proven itself to be a much-needed refresh just when I was starting to feel like the Game & Watch games were starting to stagnate. Similar to previous entries, the multi-screen allowed for a lot of fun multitasking, and I liked how fast-paced this game was. The simple high-score chasing nature still isn't my favorite though, and I gave the game an all-too-familiar 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more of these in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss out on the next one. Also leave a like if you enjoyed it, since it'll help the channel grow and motivate me to continue this series. I hope I will see you in the next step of my quest to beat every Nintendo game.